My name is Olivia, and betrayal has a way of revealing itself in the small details. For me, it was a hoodie, a simple gray hoodie with faded blue lettering from our college alma mater, the kind of casual, everyday item you might not even notice. But I noticed. How could I not? It was the same hoodie Jamie had been wearing the night she sat on my couch and promised me she was done with him. Done with Ryan. Done with the man who had broken my heart. Let me start at the beginning. Jamie and I had been best friends since sophomore year of college, 6 years of friendship that had survived graduation, new jobs, relocations, and all the typical growing pains of early adulthood. She was the person I called first with good news, the shoulder I cried on when things went wrong, the voice of reason when I needed perspective. I trusted her completely. Then there was Ryan. I met him at a friend's birthday party 2 years ago. He was charming, intelligent, with the kind of quiet confidence that drew people in. Our connection was immediate and intense. Within months, I was falling in love with him, allowing myself to picture a future together, something I hadn't done with anyone in years. The relationship progressed quickly. Weekend trips, meeting each other's families, keeping toothbrushes at each other's apartments. I thought we were building something real. Jamie seemed happy for me, though in retrospect there were signs I should have noticed. The way her smile tightened when I talked about him, how she always seemed to have a reason to cancel when we planned double dates, the subtle comments questioning if we were moving too fast. But I was in love, and love has a way of blurring your peripheral vision. 8 months in, the cracks started showing. Ryan became distant, canceling plans last minute, taking hours to respond to messages. When we were together, he seemed distracted, his mind elsewhere. I told myself it was work stress, that every relationship has phases, that we would get through it. Then came the night I stopped by his apartment unannounced. I had bought tickets to a concert I knew he wanted to see, planning to surprise him. Instead, I was the one surprised when a woman I didn't recognize opened his door wearing nothing but one of his t-shirts. The details of that night are still painfully clear. The woman's confused expression. Ryan appearing behind her, his face draining of color when he saw me. The stammered explanations, the tears, the shouting. Walking home through pouring rain because I couldn't bear to be in a confined space with a stranger, even a rideshare driver. I called Jamie from the sidewalk, rain soaking through my clothes, my voice breaking as I told her what happened. She was at my apartment within 30 minutes, armed with wine, ice cream, and fierce loyalty. "He's trash," she declared, pouring me a generous glass. "Absolute garbage. You deserve so much better, Liv." That night, and for many nights after, Jamie was everything a best friend should be. She listened to me cycle through anger, grief, and confusion. She deleted his number from my phone when I was tempted to call him. She stayed over on the hardest nights, making sure I ate and showered and remembered that life would eventually feel normal again. Through it all, she maintained a steady stream of anti-Ryan sentiment. "He never deserved you. I always thought he seemed selfish. You're so much better off without him." The kind of things friends say when you're heartbroken, the reassurances you need to hear. About 3 weeks after the breakup, Ryan started reaching out. First texts, then calls, finally a handwritten letter slipped under my door. He wanted to explain, to apologize, to make things right. Jamie was adamant that I shouldn't respond. "He's only sorry he got caught," she insisted. "If you give him another chance, he'll just hurt you again." I knew she was right. Still, in weak moments, I found myself rereading his messages, fingering the edges of his letter. Jamie noticed during one of our movie nights, gently taking my phone and seeing his name on the screen. "Oh, Liv," she said softly, "he's not worth your tears." She took my hands in hers, looking directly into my eyes. "I ran into him last week, you know, at that coffee shop near his place." My stomach tightened. "You didn't tell me." She shrugged. "I didn't want to upset you, but you should know he tried to get me to convince you to talk to him." "What did you say?" "I told him to leave you alone, that he'd done enough damage." Her expression hardened. "I told him if he really cared about you, he'd respect your space and stop trying to force his way back into your life." I felt a rush of gratitude for her fierce protection. "Thank you." "That's what friends do," she said simply. "We protect each other from people who don't deserve us." That night, Jamie stayed late, helping me sort through some things Ryan had left at my place. I found a sweatshirt of his I'd been sleeping in, still carrying his scent. "You should burn it," Jamie joked, only half kidding. "I'll just give it back to him," I said, "along with everything else." She frowned. "You don't need to see him for that. I can drop it off if you want." "No, I should do it myself. Closure and all that." Jamie seemed oddly insistent. "Closure is overrated. Just leave it all in a box outside his door, or better yet, donate it. He doesn't deserve your consideration." In the end, I agreed to her suggestion. Jamie offered to take the box of Ryan's things and drop it at his building on her way home, one last service in her campaign to help me move on. As the weeks passed, I slowly began to heal. I threw myself into work, reconnected with friends I'd neglected during my relationship, even downloaded a dating app, though I wasn't ready to use it yet. Jamie was my constant companion through it all, checking in daily, planning distractions, reminding me that I was strong and worthy of true love. 2 months after the breakup, we were having drinks when she mentioned casually that she'd lost her favorite hoodie, the gray one from our alma mater. "I've looked everywhere," she complained. "I must have left it at the gym or something." "The one with the faded letters? That's a shame, you've had it forever." "Yeah," she sighed. "Sentimental value, you know. We bought those together sophomore year." I promised to keep an eye out for it, then changed the subject. A week later, I realized I'd left my phone charger at Ryan's place months ago. It was a specific type that was hard to replace, and in my newly practical post-breakup mindset, I decided it wasn't worth buying a new one when my old one was probably still plugged in behind his nightstand where I always kept it. I debated asking Jamie to get it for me, but that seemed excessive. It had been almost 3 months. I could handle a brief practical interaction with my ex, so on a Tuesday evening, I texted Ryan asking if I could stop by to grab my charger. His response came quickly. "Of course, I'm at work until 7. Door code is still the same if you want to let yourself in. It should be where you always kept it." The familiar code, the casual mention of where you always kept it, little reminders of an intimacy now lost, but I pushed those thoughts aside. This was a simple errand, nothing more. At 6:30, I let myself into the building and rode the elevator to his floor, a strange sense of déjà vu washing over me. I hadn't been here since that rainy night, hadn't seen these hallways or smelled the distinctive mix of cleaning products and old carpet that permeated the building. I punched in the door code, still automatic to my fingers, and stepped inside. His apartment looked the same, yet different. New throw pillows on the couch, a plant I didn't recognize by the window. Small changes that reminded me life had continued in my absence. I headed straight for the bedroom, wanting to retrieve my charger and leave before he returned. The bedroom door was ajar, and I pushed it open without thinking. That's when I saw it. Draped across the floor beside his bed, a gray hoodie with faded blue lettering. Jamie's hoodie, the one she claimed to have lost. I stared at it, my mind struggling to process what I was seeing. Maybe it was just similar. Maybe lots of people had this hoodie, but even as I thought it, I knew. The small tear near the cuff from when she caught it on a fence during a hiking trip, the slight discoloration on the sleeve from a bleach accident, this was Jamie's hoodie. My best friend's hoodie. On my ex-boyfriend's bedroom floor. The realization crashed over me in waves. The coffee shop run-in that she had mentioned, her insistence on delivering his belongings, her convenient presence whenever I was feeling weak, making sure I didn't contact him, her lost hoodie. They were seeing each other, my best friend and my ex. While she sat on my couch, telling me he was trash and I deserved better, she was sleeping with him behind my back. I felt physically ill, a cold sweat breaking out across my skin. Part of me wanted to wait for them, to confront them both with the evidence of their betrayal, to scream and cry and demand explanations. But another, quieter part of me knew that wouldn't bring me any peace. Instead, I walked over and picked up the hoodie. I folded it neatly, my movements mechanical, detached. I placed it on his pillow where it would be impossible to miss. A silent message that needed no explanation. Then I found my charger behind the nightstand exactly where I'd left it months ago, unplugged it and walked out. No note, no dramatic gesture, just the folded hoodie on his pillow, speaking volumes in its silent accusation. I made it to my car before the tears came, hot and fast. A different kind of heartbreak than I had experienced before. Ryan's betrayal had been painful, but straightforward. This was more complex, more devastating. Jamie had been my rock, my confidant, the person holding me together while simultaneously driving the knife deeper. When I got home, I blocked them both on everything: phone, social media, email. I didn't want explanations or apologies. No justification could possibly make this right. My phone started ringing almost immediately. Jamie, calling, then texting. When I didn't answer, "Where are you? Can we talk? Please pick up, I can explain." It's not what you think. But it was exactly what I thought. Ryan must have found the hoodie and realized what it meant. They knew I knew. I didn't respond. What was there to say? No words could repair what had been broken. The next day, Jamie showed up at my apartment, knocking frantically. I watched through the peephole as she pressed her forehead against my door, calling my name. After 15 minutes, she left a small package and a note before finally leaving. I waited until I was sure she was gone before opening the door. The package contained a bracelet she had borrowed months ago, and a few other small items of mine she had accumulated over the years. The note was 3 pages long, handwritten in her familiar scrawl. "It wasn't planned," she wrote. "After I dropped off his things that day, we got talking. He was so broken up about losing you. One thing led to another. I know it's unforgivable. I know I've ruined everything, but I need you to know I never meant to hurt you." Classic lines from the betrayer's script. It wasn't planned. It just happened. Never meant to hurt you. As if intention erased impact. As if one thing led to another was an explanation rather than an evasion of responsibility. The letter continued, detailing their guilt, their plan to tell me when the time was right, their hope that I could eventually forgive them. There was no acknowledgement of the weeks of lies, the deliberate deception, the calculated way she had positioned herself as my protector while secretly taking what I was trying to heal from losing. I tore the letter into tiny pieces and flushed it down the toilet, a small, symbolic gesture of removal. Then I packed a bag and went to stay with my sister for a week, needing space from the apartment, where Jamie's presence lingered in every corner. My sister Rebecca was exactly what I needed, an impartial but loving witness to my pain, who didn't try to minimize it or rush me through it. "What they did was inexcusable," she said simply, "and you don't owe either of them forgiveness, now or ever." During that week away, I thought a lot about friendship and loyalty, about the stories we tell ourselves about the people we love. Had there been signs I missed, red flags I ignored, or had Jamie been showing me her true self all along and I simply refused to see it? I remembered small moments, how she always seemed more interested in my relationship problems than my successes, the subtle competitions she initiated, the slight edge of jealousy when something good happened for me, the way she sometimes made herself the hero in my darkest moments. But I also remembered genuine kindness, shared history, inside jokes, and mutual support. 6 years of friendship isn't an illusion, it was real, even if its foundation wasn't what I thought. By the time I returned to my apartment, I had reached a state of calm resignation. I couldn't change what had happened. I couldn't unlearn what I now knew about 2 people I had loved and trusted. All I could control was what I did next. I spent the weekend deep cleaning my apartment, removing traces of both Jamie and Ryan from my space, photos, gifts, mementos, all packed away in a box I stored in the back of my closet, not ready to discard completely, but needing them out of my daily sight. On Monday, I returned to work in my regular routines, politely deflecting questions about why Jamie and I weren't speaking. Our mutual friends were confused, caught in the uncomfortable position of divided loyalties. I didn't elaborate. Didn't try to turn anyone against them. The truth would reveal itself eventually, as it always does. 3 weeks after finding the hoodie, I ran into them at a restaurant. They were sitting in a corner booth, holding hands across the table, so absorbed in each other, they didn't notice me until I was walking past to leave. "Olivia," Ryan said, his voice strained, "can we talk?" I looked at them both, these 2 people who had meant so much to me, now strangers in every way that mattered. "No," I said simply, "we can't." Jamie's eyes filled with tears. "Please, Liv. We never wanted it to happen like this." I felt a strange calm, the kind that comes with complete clarity. "But it did happen like this. You made your choices, now I'm making mine." I walked out of the restaurant into the cool evening air, breathing deeply. There was sadness, yes, but also liberation. No more wondering if I could trust them. No more questioning my own judgment. The worst had happened, and I had survived it. In the months that followed, I rebuilt my life without them. New friends, new routines, new perspectives. I started therapy, working through not just the double betrayal, but older patterns that had led me to trust too easily, to ignore warning signs, to accept less than I deserved. Mutual friends eventually learned the truth, some taking sides, others trying to remain neutral. I lost a few in the fallout, people who believed their story over mine, or who simply found it easier to forgive them than to acknowledge what they had done. But I gained others who saw clearly and stood firmly beside me. I heard through the grapevine that Jamie and Ryan were officially a couple now. Sometimes I wondered if they spoke of me, if they had constructed a narrative that eased their guilt. Perhaps I was the villain in their story, unreasonable and unforgiving. Perhaps in their version, they were star-crossed lovers who couldn't fight their connection despite trying to spare my feelings. People have an incredible capacity to justify their worst actions, to rewrite history in a way that casts them in the best possible light. I couldn't control their story. I could only live my truth. A year after finding the hoodie, I was in a much better place, dating someone new, a kind, honest man who understood my trust issues and didn't pressure me to move faster than I was ready for, thriving in a new position at work that had come from pouring my energy into professional growth during the darkest days of my personal life, surrounded by friends whose loyalty wasn't conditional or convenient. Jamie sent me an email on the anniversary, a long message expressing regret, asking if enough time had passed for us to at least talk. I read it twice, considering my response carefully. In the end, I sent a single line. Some broken things can't be repaired, only learned from. Looking back now, I'm grateful for that gray hoodie on the floor, for the clear, undeniable evidence that forced me to see the truth. Without it, how much longer might I have been deceived? How many more months or years might I have invested in people who didn't deserve my trust? Sometimes the most painful revelations are also gifts, forcing us to confront realities we've been avoiding, pushing us toward growth we've been resisting. The hoodie was my wake-up call, my permission to walk away without guilt or uncertainty. I still think about them occasionally, not with the sharp pain of fresh betrayal, but with a distant, muted sadness for what was lost. Not just a romantic relationship and a friendship, but my belief in their fundamental goodness, my trust in my own judgment, my certainty about who my people were. But I've built something new from those ruins. A stronger sense of self, clearer boundaries, deeper relationships with those who have proven worthy of my trust. I've learned that loyalty isn't just about grand declarations in moments of crisis, but about small, consistent choices made when no one is watching. And I've learned the power of quiet dignity in the face of betrayal. There's something profound in simply folding a hoodie, placing it on a pillow, and walking away. No drama, no closure conversations, no desperate attempts to understand the incomprehensible, just a clear message. I see you, I know the truth, and I choose myself. Some might call it cold, I call it self-preservation, because sometimes the most powerful response to betrayal isn't confrontation or revenge, but simply removing yourself from the equation entirely, leaving them to face the reality of what they've done without the benefit of your forgiveness to ease their guilt. I didn't say a word, just folded her hoodie, left it on his pillow, and walked out for the last time. And in that silent exit was everything they needed to know about the consequences of their choices. The rest is up to them.